Under Armour gave us a lighter, softer update in the Infnite Elite 2. And it was such a refreshing change from version 1. But softness can sometimes fade and freshness can get stale. So now that I've logged 100 miles in this shoe, let's see if the Infnite Elite 2 is still tasty or if it's past its best buy date. Yo, what's going on? My name is Kofuzi and I'm a non-elite runner who reviews running shoes here on YouTube. And today I want to talk to you guys all about the Under Armour Infnite Elite 2 after 100 miles. But before I give my thoughts on this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that Under Armour sent to me for the purpose of review, so I did not have to pay for these shoes. However, nobody's paying me to make this video or to include their shoe in this video, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the Infnite Elite 2 after 100 miles. And for these follow-up review videos, I like to do them a little bit differently than my initial reviews. And so for this video, I want to start by talking about how I've been using the shoe. Under Armour positions this shoe as a max cushion shoe, and that's exactly how I've been using it. So like max cushion shoes kind of fit as a subcategory of the daily trainer category, where it's a kind of shoe they could use for most of your run, for most of your days. And in that max cushion subset, you have shoes that have a little bit more stack height than a regular daily trainer would. You got a little bit more comfort, and you may be sacrificing a little bit of speed and performance in order to get some of those comfort gains. And that's exactly how I've been using this shoe, as a really comfortable recovery run type of shoe. I'm using it as a classic max cushion shoe. So the days after a big workout where my body's really beat up and I just want to get out there, move the legs a little bit, get the blood flowing, and encourage and facilitate that active recovery. That's the kind of day where I'm reaching for the Infnite Elite. The softness of the shoe, the squishiness of the shoe is really nice for days where I just want to be comfortable and feel as good as I can, because otherwise I'd be feeling pretty terrible in the legs. And the Infnite Elite 2 has been a real pleasure to be able to run in on those kinds of days. Now, the foam is pretty lively, so while it is soft, it doesn't just get stuck there when it's been compressed. It decompresses pretty nicely as well in an energetic kind of way. So I think some people could probably use this just straight up as a daily trainer that just happens to be tall. And other people might use it as that long run shoe, the shoe that you're going to be in for a very long amount of time, where you might have some faster miles as you're getting prepared for your next half marathon or your marathon. So you might have some up-tempo miles in there, maybe not something as fast as like a 10K race, but something that's maybe a little bit faster than your everyday easy pace. And so I feel like that range, the shoe can also be quite nice. But for me personally, I haven't really been reaching for it in that kind of use case. For me, I've really been looking at the Infnite Elite 2 as that recovery run shoe. Now that we've talked about how I've been using the shoe, let's talk about how it's been holding up. I gotta say, it doesn't feel like the Infnite Elite 2 is fresh out of the box anymore. I could definitely tell that the shoe has some miles on it. It is still an airy foam. It is still a cushion foam. It's just a little bit more dense than it was when I first got it. The more and more miles that I've put on the shoe, the less inclined I've been to consider this shoe for a light workout or even for a long run. I've really only been reaching for this shoe as a recovery run shoe, and I feel like that's where I seem to be liking it the most. That's where I seem to be kind of reaching for it and being excited for this shoe the most. And I think that's because the foam is degrading a little bit. Nothing that alarms me and makes me think that the shoe is going to be dying anytime soon, but there has been a noticeable change from mile 1 to mile 100. As far as the outsole goes, I am seeing wear on the rubber, especially in the highest wear areas for me, which are typically the center of the pads of the feet and on the outside of the heel, both in the left and the right shoe. I'm seeing pretty even wear in those high traction areas, but nothing that worries me. The rubber that they're using on this shoe is plentiful and it is holding up well. So even though there is some wear, it's about what I would expect to see at the 100-mile mark. The upper, I could say pretty much the same thing. I feel like it's holding up really well. It's not the most elegantly designed shoe. I feel like it leaves a lot to be desired, at least in terms of the aesthetics and then some of the choice of the materials for this shoe. But as far as the durability of those materials, everything's holding up really well. Even some of these softer areas that are lining the heel collar of the shoe, I do see a couple of areas of light wear, but nothing's breaking down, nothing's wearing faster than I would expect it to. It just looks like a shoe that has about 100 miles on it. Everything's right where it should be for the 100-mile mark in a shoe. Before we end this video, let's zoom out and see where the Infnite Elite 2 sits within the broader Under Armour lineup. Now, whenever I take a look at a brand, I always like to start with a daily trainer, and from Under Armour, that is the Sonic. We are on version number 7 of this shoe. Now, it had been a few years since I had tested a Sonic, and in that time, Under Armour has changed a lot. The foam is a lot softer than it used to be. The shoe overall feels a lot lighter. The upper is definitely stripped down. I think they may have gone a little bit too minimalistic with this shoe, and so having a max cushion companion to this shoe is definitely needed in the lineup, and that's where the Infnite Elite 2 comes in. That is going to be the max cushion recovery run shoe and also the long run shoe in the lineup. And then for race day, that's where the Velocity Elite comes in. Now, this is a shoe that's been around for a while, and an update should be coming any minute now, but for now, this is the most recent version of the shoe. This uses 2 different kinds of foam. They're using a beaded Peebo, which is a race caliber foam. And then for the bottom layer, they're using kind of like a midsole outsole combo. There isn't rubber on this outsole, but they're using a kind of EVA blend that is durable enough to be run directly on. And in between the 2 layers of foam, there is a carbon fiber plate, so it serves as the eraser. Now, in this space right here, there is technically a shoe in the Under Armour lineup called the Velocity. There's a Velocity and a Velocity Pro and then a Velocity Elite. And the Velocity sits as the Speedwork shoe. So it's supposed to be a shoe that has speedier features and some race tech that makes it a little bit better than a daily trainer would be for big, tough workouts, but it has a little bit more durability and a little bit less cost than what you would find in the race shoe, and that would sit right here. But given the amount of durability that we're getting from that second bottom layer that's on the Velocity Elite, I really feel like there is plenty of durability in this shoe, and so you don't really need that speed work category shoe, and so you can really do a lot with this 3 shoe lineup from Under Armour. Now let's wrap up this video by going over the buying guide, and we'll also discuss some of the alternatives. The Under Armour Infnite Elite 2 is a shoe that's plush enough for recovery day, but light and peppy enough for every day. I really like what Under Armour has done with the updates to the Infnite Elite 2, and I'm happy to say that I'm still excited to run in this shoe, even though I've had the shoe now for several months. This shoe retails at $160, and for a max cushion shoe, I feel like this is a pretty solid price for what you're getting here, but let's also take a look at some of the alternatives that are out there. Now, in my original review of this shoe, I gave you the options of the Invincible and the Balos, but considering how I've changed the way that I'm approaching this shoe, and the longer that I have it, the more miles that I put into the shoe, the less I'm using it as a long run shoe and the more I'm using it as just a straight up max cushion recovery run shoe, I'd like to give you some 2 other alternatives. The first shoe that I want to talk about, I think isn't even a max cushion shoe at all, but it kind of behaves like one, so I want to talk about it here. This is from Mizuno. This is the Neo Zen. Now, even though Mizuno is marketing this as a daily trainer and not a max cushion shoe, overall rides between these 2 shoes are quite similar. I also prefer the upper that's in the Neo Zen. I am a sucker for knit, and the comfort is definitely there in this upper. And I think the bigger difference that's even more noticeable than the uppers is in the midsoles themselves. While each of these shoes have very soft, squishy midsoles, I'd say the dynamics are quite different. The Infnite Elite kind of squishes quickly, but it doesn't stay stuck in that squished position, so it doesn't feel like it's a mushy shoe. I feel like with the Neo Zen, the compression happens a little bit more in a controlled way, so it's a little bit more stable, but it doesn't decompress as quickly as the Hover Plus in the Infnite Elite 2. So I get the sensation that the Neo Zen is a little bit on the mushy side. I like it for shorter than normal easy running and for shorter than usual recovery runs is pretty much how I've been using the Neo Zen. The Neo Zen also comes in a little bit cheaper at $150. And then the other shoe that I suspect Under Armour may have been targeting when they made the Infnite Elite 2 is from Adidas, and this is the Ultraboost 5X. This is a max cushion shoe that also uses a beaded foam and is also emphasizing comfort over raw performance. The upper on the Adidas Ultraboost 5X feels a lot more premium, and the design is definitely there. They're using a combination of knit and neoprene materials. Definitely feels like an upgrade over Adidas. It's just much more comfortable and more breathable. And as far as the midsole foams go, the way that the Light Boost behaves is that the midsole overall just feels a lot more dense than what I'm getting in the Infnite Elite 2. And so for people that don't like really squishy shoes, or they're worried that they're going to bottom out in a shoe if it's too squishy or compresses too quickly, I think the Ultraboost 5X is going to feel a lot more stable, and that's going to feel like it has the right amount of cushion and bounce that you might be looking for if you tend to stay away from very squishy shoes. And while that shoe normally comes in at an Ultraboost premium of $180, you can find it now on sale for $135. So if the visuals of the Infnite Elite aren't winning you over, the $135 of the Ultraboost 5X certainly is a viable option. So those are my thoughts on the Infnite Elite 2. Under Armour is an on-again, off-again brand when it comes to their dedication to performance run. But seeing what Under Armour has done with Infnite Elite 1 and then in the update to Infnite Elite 2 shows me that Under Armour, at least for now, is in a serious on-again phase. If you have any other questions about this shoe or any of the shoes that I talked about today, feel free to put them in the comments down below, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Mondays and Thursdays over on the Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to see you guys over there in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?